So I'm still in that same like fear of failure, fear of rejection. Like I'm still afraid of things. So I'm afraid like if I go like, hey, I'm trying to raise money for this deal, I feel like my pride starts to like look at me like, oh, you're just begging for money. And so I'm still nervous to do it. The other day I put something on Facebook. Hey guys, we have plenty of real estate deals looking for lending partners. And I finally got out of my shell a little bit. And my father-in-law is going to invest with me. My brother-in-law is going to invest with me. So I found some capital really quickly. And it was just amazing. I was like, I just had to get a little uncomfortable.
Who's this? Oh, you're an entrepreneur? Oh, you're a real estate investor. Oh, you're trying to learn from those who did it. Well, come into the lab then. Put your white coat on, gloves on, notepad, and let's build, y'all. Real estate experiment. What is happening, y'all? Today, I have a man very, very, very overdue. We had to chase this man down since 2021. And we finally gotten in the lab to roll up our sleeves to talk about a concept that he happens to be a subject matter expert in, but I want to give Brent Bowers the introduction that he deserves. Brent, what is happening, man? Welcome to the lab, brother. What's going on?
Hey, thanks for having me in the lab. And you know what? Since 2021, that doesn't really, I mean, that's only a couple months ago. Like,
no, man. Listen, you know what they say? That's one of the 48 laws of power, man. Scarcity, man. We can find this guy. Yeah. Like he's just serving so many people. And I know that that's a thing that you're doing, which we're going to talk about. But look, you're I just want to give, the introduction that you deserve because, you have a very interesting, unique background where, we talk about real estate is a large umbrella, right? We talk about, hey, I want to get into real estate. Okay, well, we were just talking about offline, like what kind of real estate do you want to get into? And somehow, some way, Brent, you decided to be the land shark that you are today, and you decided to go into land real estate. And it's actually interesting because it's the foundation that we all build real estate on, that we talk about a lot of different models, and you're going back to the most foundational component, land, which is we're not making any more of it, that's for sure. But I want to get an opportunity because I believe in a great business and a great operation is a great individual, and it reflects. So I want to focus on Brent. What problem were you trying to solve? Where did the opportunity come? How did we fall into this? So we kind of do a little reverse engineer exercise. Brent, tell the people, man, what is going on?
Yeah. No, I now see why Dan Haberkost raved about your podcast, and I know you had him on. And we talked for the first time 9-10 months ago. So I'm really glad we got to circle back. I would say everyone is trying to solve a problem, whether we realize it or not. I thought I wanted to get into real estate to be a real estate rock star. I started with rentals in 2007, 2008, kicked my butt. Ended up joining the military. I was married at that time, did a couple of deployments, and, it's kind of hard being in the military and you're always gone. So my wife was like, I'm hitting the road, Jack, on the second deployment. And the Army pulls me out of Afghanistan the second time. I'm back in the United States in 2013 after being gone for about 3 years between Germany and Afghanistan, back and forth. And I get back into real estate and I house hacked for a little while. And then I bought another rental and then another rental. And then I started wholesaling and I met the woman of my dreams and we got married and we got a baby on the way. And I'm still repeating the same pattern in the military, always gone, always away, always training, always in the field, preparing for deployment number 3. And when that first baby came, I remember it being in the hospital thinking, okay, I'm looking to exit. I'm going to transition. I do not want history repeating itself again on me with another wife possibly leaving. And now I have a baby boy involved. I want to be home more often. I want to stay home. And I looked at my wife. I was like, I'm getting out of the military and I'm going to build this business that's going to give us financial security that nothing will ever penetrate. So we were wholesaling houses haphazardly. I had about 6 rentals at the time. I had super massive credit card debt, American Express, Home Depot, all this stuff maxed out. And I'm wholesaling houses. Okay. I'm doing maybe 1 a month, but I'm spending an absolute massive fortune on direct mail. And I heard about a guy on a podcast. I'm looking kind of like the experiment podcast. Like I am like searching for answers because now I'm in go mode. I'm not in educate mode. I'm in you show me the way and I'm going to blaze the path. Like I'm going to run over brick walls because now I had a why. And I didn't realize this at the time until I started getting on a podcast. And it's like, people are like, why did you do this? Well, here's my why. I realized it. My why was so powerful. It got me out of bed at 4 a.m. every single morning before I had to be at PT at 6 a.m. And it would keep me up late at night. But I heard a guy on a podcast talking about land like I'd never heard before. And I was avoiding the land. I was mailing the houses. I was mailing the dirty, stinky, old, nasty cat pee houses where we'd have to clean out the crack needles before we can even let our contractors go in. And I was only focusing on this, and there was all this competition. Well, I started mailing the land, and it's like God opened the floodgates for me. I mean, the calls started coming in, everything started happening, and I did 2 deals within about 2.5 weeks time frame of sending that first postcard out. And each one of those deals made me about $4,500 net profit, net after all expenses. And I was absolutely hooked. And that second one gave me passive income, a monthly payment. And that replaced my truck payment. And that was when my paradigm shifted. Okay, I got $400 a month on my second deal. What if I just keep doing this and doing this and doing this? And before I knew it, I replaced our expenses. Our expenses were taken care of with land payments coming in every single month. And we were financially free. That's when I put in my packet to get out of the military. We ramped it up. And here I am talking about it today.
Woo! Okay, so this is very interesting because I heard a lot of like good reference points. So one is pain and struggle because I just got off a call with friends like, man, I'm in a slump, man. Okay, cool. How do you deal, or do you remember? Because I think also like I really want to put it out there that sometimes hindsight is 2020. Or like, oh yeah, well, what I would do now. So let's just, we're very, very like down to the weeds. Like, let's just be very upfront. Like, I don't know that I always have the answer for this stuff, but so I don't want to be a hypocrite when I ask the question, but do you remember if there was something that, allowed you to go into that go mode? Because sometimes there's that, okay, there's that obstacle and we feel stuck. We feel like the world's against us. And I don't know if you can pinpoint anything that comes to mind that you felt was a one way to get, that foot out of the muck kind of thing, where you can kind of gain a little bit more traction. Because I think they'll be helpful for our listeners who may be finding our own block. And it's not just our listeners, it's all of us. We'll get into it. And if you get in the habit of, okay, when I get into a block, because I'm always trying to elevate and get to the next level, what is that move or course correction or mindset shift that I need to have to get out of that funk?
For me, when I get into a funk, it's because I'm trying to find an easier, quicker, smarter way to do it. And I came across an article last night before I went to sleep, from a friend of mine that posted on Facebook. And I'm not a scroller on Facebook. I don't really scroll. I like to create, not to consume, when it comes to social media. Sure. Now, I consume a lot of books that are written by, people like you were telling me about the Dream 100 book, like written by people that are really smart and where I want to be one day. But I ran across this article, and it's called The Cows Don't Give the Milk. You have to actually go out and milk the cow. What does that mean? You got to get up at 4 a.m. You got to walk through the pasture, through all the cow poop, and literally go out there when it's freezing cold and put your stool down and actually work that cow's udders to get the milk. The cow doesn't just give the milk. You've got to go out and put the work in, and it could take 10, 20, 30 years to do it. Was just walking down the street with one of my neighbors as our kids were playing, and her parents are retired and doing absolutely fabulous because they ran a short-term B&B, a bed and breakfast on the beach for 27 years. And they put in the hard work. They milked the cow for 27 years. They didn't get the cow's milk, and now they're sitting pretty because this appreciation from this real estate market, the mortgage pay down, the depreciation and the tax write-offs and all the rents coming in, or the short-term rents coming in. They milked that cow, and then they got through it. So how do I get out of those slumps? Is I just put in the work. I get up earlier. I stay up late. I go and get a good workout in to get my endorphins going, to get rid of cortisol. Cortisol is in our body and it slows us down, it pauses us. And the counteraction or the antidote to cortisol, fear, pause, weighing us down, is endorphins. We got to get out and move. Like maybe you can't run, but you can move, right? Like you can move somehow or another, get your blood flowing. And when I got to make that hard call or get that no or the rejection or the fear of failure, I just get moving, whether it be a walk or a run or go lift weights. So that's how I get out of the slump. That's a long way to answer your question.
Oh, that's so
But I
good.
hope that helped, Ruben.
No, Brent. I think the reason why it's really good, and I think so. Ooh, this is okay. You brought me somewhere where I didn't even know how to get there. So one is, I think we need to understand that naturally, whether it's our mind or call it your soul is looking for the path of least resistance, right?
Always.
That's a natural thing. So once we can acknowledge that and know ourselves that the nature in the mind is to spend less energy, to become more efficient, to do what's easy, to do what we're used to. So what I'm hearing is such a good reminder is to go towards that discomfort. Don't try to find for like, oh, all right, like I tried wholesaling, like this land thing might be it. Or like, I just want to be very clear that this brand that when we get on experts like you, the goal is to align with, your zone of genius and then double down on what works. The goal isn't to experiment horizontally forever. It's good to get a taste, but then at one point you got to roll up your sleeves and be like, I'm going to be the land guy and I'm going to do the work that Brent did and I'm going to roll up my sleeves. I'm not going to stop when I send my third mailer to a land person and they don't respond. And then I'm going to move on to the next thing, because I think one thing I'm resonating with really truthfully now, and after being an entrepreneur and tried a lot of different things, it's like everything works.
Yeah, it does. It does. And I had an amazing mentor one time tell me, Tom Kroll is his name. He created Wholesaling Inc., who I'm just honored to be a land coach for. He said, investing is boring. Like if it's exciting and fun, like you are probably not investing, because it's got to get boring. It's got to get predictable. That's how you get good at it. It's kind of like when we got really good and bored at our wholesaling business and then flipping houses, like what do? We jump to something else because it's exciting and fun and new. Well, we were just starting to get good at the wholesaling and the house flipping, and then we jumped to something new.
I know.
And I mean, you think about a doctor, a surgeon. He practices for 20 something years, 30 something years.
Compound effect.
He's bored. Yes. But he's probably making a tremendous amount of money being bored.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about, and I appreciate the openness and you sharing with the obstacles that you dealt with, with their former wife and the challenges of kind of doing the exact same thing. And then you kind of realizing, listen, man, this is bigger than me. Like I gotta do something now. And this is what we're doing here. Let's talk about these first. I think what's important to also identify too is that how did you when you heard about the land and you decided, okay, I'm gonna go all in, do you know what was the thing that made you align with that? Like, was it just the timing, do you think? Was it enough is enough? Or was it like, I think this is an opportunity because it's like people are not really going down that path? Like, what was the thought process so that people are listening can be like, how do I know that I need to really am I the one making a decision? Is there a sign that I need to follow? Like, again, not to be so woo, but just curious as to like, what was going through your mind for me to say, hey, listen, I'm done with all this other crap I was doing. This is it right here.
Yeah, it's pretty much everything you mentioned there, Ruben. When the student is ready, the master will arrive. I was already mailing. I was already sending that postcard. I was just avoiding the land. I was only mailing the stinky old dirty cat pee houses. And I'm like pretty much scrubbing this list and leaving the vacant raw land over here and mailing this over here, like which is AKA the houses. Yeah. Well, it was such an easy transition. Like I'm pretty sure the day I heard that podcast, I called my mail house and said, hey, I'm going to send you a spreadsheet, an Excel document, mail everything, that same exact postcard, and change house to property. And some of them didn't even have an address on this parcels of land. Some weren't buildable, some weren't accessible. And people were like, well, should I mail not buildable land? Well, I mailed everything on the spreadsheet. I didn't care what it was. And like the first deal was $285. It was a retired CPA. This was no dummy. He said, you know what? I traded this land. It's not buildable. It's 2 lots on Lake Avenue and Palmer Lake in Colorado. You can have it for $285. I got your postcard. And I was like, what? There's no way I could buy land for $285. Well, we went and drove to it that weekend. It was about an hour and a half away from our house. I thought it was totally somewhere else. Got lost getting there, and we're on the land, and I'm like, this is amazing, beautiful land. We figured out why it wasn't buildable, had no clue what it was worth though. Called a real estate office that was right down the street. And I was like, what's your get it done now price? What would you blow this out on the MLS for? She said, maybe 10 grand, maybe. And I'm like, holy cow, 10 grand. And I thought the 285 was a lot of money. This is in 2006. I'm broke, man. I just had a new baby. We bought a new house. We just moved to Colorado. And that's like rent, or basically diaper money, not rent because we bought a house, but that's diaper money going into this piece of land that wasn't buildable. Well, I hung up with this realtor, really happy. I was like, okay, I have the confidence to buy this thing. I'm getting it at pennies on the dollar. And the realtor calls me back in like 5 minutes. He goes, hey, Brent, can I buy it? Would you be okay if I bought it? I was like, 1000%. What do you offer? And she said, 5 grand. And me being the negotiator I am, I said, let's do it. Send the contractor or send the contract over. She did. I said, when can you close? She said, like Wednesday. I was like in 4 days. And she said, yeah. So I called the seller. I said, can I pay you on Tuesday? He gave me a quit claim deed, which I don't get those anymore. And I run title searches and all that. But I just went and got the quit claim deed, wrote him a check for $285, brought it to the title company that night. And the next day went and picked up my $5,000 check. And I was pretty hooked after that. I was like, there's no way this is too good to be true. This can't keep working.
So let's talk about that.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask you, let's talk about the opportunity because we're in the business and we talk about this a lot, like whether it's wholesaling, we're solving a problem, right? And we understand, if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably familiar. We've talked about wholesaling. We've had some wholesalers here. We understand that there's an opportunity. There's motivated sellers. There's the after repair value. We understand that opportunity. What is the opportunity in land? Like, what problem are you solving here? Because it's land. Like, I don't think it occurs to people that like, oh, like this is an actual asset. Like that's so, like that, what you just talked about, I don't think occurs to a lot of people. So can you describe where the opportunity is, who is looking for those opportunities so that we can start identifying actually what this business model is about?
Yeah. And I'll say, what problem am I solving for the seller? The seller that inherited the land, or he traded it 10 years ago for tax preparation work because he was a CPA, and now he's been paying the taxes on it for all these years and never did anything with it. The couple that went out to Colorado and loved the mountains so much that they purchased a piece of land for one day maybe they were going to build a cabin on, but then life happened, got in the way. They had to send 3 kids to college, and those children had grandbabies, and they stayed with those grandbabies in Florida but bought the land in Colorado 16 years ago and never went back to it. And we solved the problem by basically paying them, a little bit of money for that land so they could stop paying the back taxes on, or they inherited it, you name it, all these things. And then let's flip it to the buyer's end. I just had a student come into the Land Sharks course today, and he works for a developer. And he's like, I don't know how I'm going to make this business work, but whatever it takes, I'm going to do it. And I was like, bro, do you realize I have to go and find developers? I have to look them up and cold call them and say, hey, I got this land. Would you want to build on it? Figure out what your developer is buying and building on it, and just get a little bit ahead of him, and you will be a prized possession on that guy's team. Well, no, I'd have to quit, right? I was like, why would you have to quit if you that's like extra, like that developer is going to be so happy. You get it under contract at 60 cents on the dollar and sell it to him at 90 cents on the dollar, unless you see $100,000 piece of land which that's just really easy numbers. But that developer's happy because he's getting a 10% discount on a $90,000 piece of land. You got it under contract for 60, 70, 80, 90. You just made $30,000 by serving your person you work for. So I was like, I wish I had your opportunity.
That's so funny. And that's, you talk about land sharks, and we'll talk about that. I think that is the power, though, at being in a mastermind and being and having people being able to see your blind spots. Like what might be an obstacle is actually an opportunity. Like that's a golden opportunity. And at the same time, I want to highlight this because this came up in one of our other podcasts. Shout out to Bill Gross. This came up where we talked about we don't look enough into the opportunities that are in front of us in our existing environments or existing even workplaces. We talk a lot about the quit my job, do this and that, but where are the opportunities that you have within your job or within your network?
Yes.
To like, that's crazy to me that it's right in front of him and he didn't even realize, which is again the power of masterminds, coaching, and having, again, resources like yourself kind of show us our blind spots. It's fascinating.
I mean, your mouth is your biggest moneymaker. I mean, a friend of mine, Daniel Watson, he's a captain in the military. He's a company commander. He has other Army officers coming to him left and right saying, hey, how can I get into this? Like, how can I invest money into this? Like he's planning on quitting his job, but man, he's going to leave that sphere. I wish I wouldn't have, I was so afraid to tell anybody what I was doing when I was in the military. I wish I'd have been shouting it from the rooftops.
Why so?
I was afraid to tell because I wasn't allowed to have another business outside of the military because I was an Army officer, but I should have been telling more people what I was doing because guess what? They probably had a couple $1,000 they wanted to invest. They probably had $10,000. When I'm doing this with no money, I could have brought in partners and collaborated and brought in other lenders. And now I'm actually talking to people about it.
Yeah. So and we're fast forward in a second, but how does it look like today? Like, are you sourcing these deals by yourself, or are you buying it for pennies on the dollar, or do you actually need other investors to actually partner with you to tackle some of these deals? Like, how's the structure look like?
So I'm still in that same fear of failure, fear of rejection. I'm still afraid of things. So I'm afraid if I go hey, I'm trying to raise money for this deal, I feel like my pride starts to look at me oh, you're just begging for money. And so I'm still nervous to do it. The other day I put something on Facebook. Hey guys, we have plenty of real estate deals looking for lending partners. And I finally got out of my shell a little bit, and my father-in-law is going to invest with me. My brother-in-law is going to invest with me. So I found some capital really quickly, and it was just amazing. I was I just had to get a little uncomfortable. So yeah, absolutely. There's always deals to bring in other partners. We're buying 36 acres right now for $4.2 million, and we can build a bunch of RV pads on it, all this stuff. And you think I've got enough money to do that? No way. I got to bring in people.
Yeah, no, I love the humility there of, one of my coaches says, I mean, he said it in this way from a monetary perspective, but you can take it as you want it. He said, it's easy to make $1 million. It's harder to get out of your own way.
I'm writing that down. It's easy to make $1 million. It's harder to get out of your own way.
Brent, I want to let you know right here on this day in this lab, my friend, Q1 of 2022, Experiment Nation gives you the permission to give yourself the permission to go out there and go get it. And because, one of the things we often talk about too, for maybe some newer listeners too, who, I mean, you have, it's so humbling to hear that you, with all the experience that you have, you still have those roadblocks. Now, if you're a newbie, if you're new, just think for a second. One thing that I talk about a lot with some of the people in my mastermind and my networks is that when someone is hungry and is willing to learn, often the person who is in a position to help sees a little bit of themselves in them and is willing to help them out because of that fire in their eyes that they have, or that humility, or that hunger, or that just simply lack of a foundation. They see a little bit of themselves in you. So when you actually try to actually say, no, I got this, when you really don't, it's actually more detrimental for your brand. And I just think it's so important for us to highlight that one of the books I'm reading, it's be super comfortable with being able to say, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Look, or I need help. Like, that is awesome, because and being able to do that, I think it just shows you here that Brent, I'm here in the lab, is still sometimes conflicting him with his limiting beliefs. And it just goes back to show you that the brain wants the brain wants comfort. It doesn't like discomfort, right? It's different. So that's so refreshing. I'm so glad. Look, I gotta ask you, Brent, though, what the thing I struggle with land for all of us here is, I see it around me. Is land a commodity, or is all land created equal?
No, it's not. It's not all created equal. And it's there's certain types of demand. There's that demand for that piece of land that I mentioned, like out in Colorado, is kind of off the beaten path. That's the one day maybe type land that I call it the recreational land that I love to seller finance. I'll buy this stuff at like 30 cents on the dollar and turn around and sell it for 100 cents on the dollar at retail, and charge 9% for it and get payments every single month. But that's that guy that maybe one day wants to build his off-grid cabin or his his house on 20 acres. And then you've got the builder we already talked about. That's like in high demand right now. We're in a nationwide housing shortage. Sorry, I can't talk. We've been at the beach all day, and like my words are like not working anymore. But we're at such a massive demand for housing right now. Builders are buying up lots like crazy to build on. So you could provide that that land on a silver platter, like actually prepare and bring it to that builder. Because what are builders and developers good at? They're good at building and developing, not sourcing land and finding land. So it is in high demand. And you asked another question about me doing land deals. We have 115 notes right now paying us every single month on land that we have sold. So we create the note, we sell or finance it. Out of all 115 of those, they're completely 100% debt free. Now, some I have partners, some have been with my own money. And how do we make that money? We flip the land, or we use some of the monthly, income that's coming in to buy more lands. But I probably could have grown so much faster if I would have brought on partners more in the beginning or other financing in the beginning. But I'm fine with that. Like it's okay, because it got me the experience to do like 300 and something land deals to learn how to do this.
Experimentation. I always experiment. And the reason why is I'm always trying to find the best tool, the best method, and the best vehicle to help me get to my end goal. One of the tools that we use in the short-term rental space is Guesty for Hosts. Now, Experimentation, you know that I love to test things, and I wouldn't be sharing with you anything that I don't use myself. As a short-term rental superhost, Airbnb superhost, listings that we own and co-host at the same time, I can tell you that there's no better software that allows us to streamline our business. Right now, currently, there's actually 3 properties right now that are currently where guests are checking in, and I'm here with you, and I did not need to send in check-in instructions for these current properties, right? There are multiple ways that you can streamline your operation from on the front end and on the back end, from being able to create a website, from being able to get income reports for your team, to looking at statistics, to setting up auto reviews, to integrating your smart lock so that you don't have to sit here and send every day and remind yourself to send the passcodes for your smart locks. No, instead you can integrate directly the exact same way that you can actually send your cleaners a link so that they don't have to remind themselves when they need to go to cleanings. There's text reminders that go out. There's links that can go out for them. This is a tool that if you're looking to give a smooth experience for your team on the back end, it will truly reflect, and it does, for your guests on the front end. Make sure you go to host.guesty.com and use our unique link. Our unique link will be in our bio, in the show notes. If you're currently watching this, you'll see it right here at the bottom of my screen. Use this unique link so that you can tell Guesty that I sent you. You don't want to miss out on this. You need a PMS, property management software, in your business if you're looking to operate like a super host that you deserve to be, so that your guests can have the best experience that they deserve to have at your properties. Again, that host.guesty.com. Use our unique link that is here on the screen, in the bio, and in the show notes if you're listening to this, guys. Happy hosting. So tell me, Brent, like, what does that, because I'm listening, you gotta like, Experiment Nation knows nothing about this whole land thing. All we know is that we talk about real estate that is built on land. We don't even talk about, how to buy land and how to source land, which I'm going to get to in a second. But you talk about notes, right?
Yeah.
Like a real passive income business model. How is that actually structured? Because we hear notes. Yeah. What does that actually look like? Give us a tactical example for our listeners.
Two ways to structure it. So I buy a piece of land for, say, $5,000. Ruben, you want to buy it from me, and the land's worth $15,000. I bought it for $5,000, okay, and the land's worth $15,000. Some people, why would someone sell their land for 1/3 what it's worth? People bring Rolexes every single day into pawn shops because they need the speed, they need the convenience, they need something. You got to solve the problem for the seller. So I buy the land for $5,000. I put it out on Craigslist or Land Watch or Facebook or my signs or Realtor, you name it, for $15,000. I'm going to sell it for exactly what it's worth. But here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to get $5,000 down, and I'm going to get, $299 a month at 9% interest for the next, 10 years. If I can go 30, I'll go 30 years, because like the banks have it figured out. If you have a $200,000 mortgage at 6% interest for 30 years, that person is going to pay back over $420,000. Does that really sound like 6% to you? No. So the banks have compounding interest figured out. But anyhow, that's another subject. But that's the first way.
So, and just to be clear, you're going to get someone to put down 5,000. Is that what you said? And then you're going to, it could be 5,000, 6, 7, 7, right? 3. Yep. But you're going to get them. You're basically becoming the bank, where you're saying, hey, this can be yours, but you're going to pay me the note, right? Mm-hmm. Like you're going to pay me the monthly payment, and there's going to be interest on it. And from what I just heard, that interest is going to end up being a whole lot more than $15K during the trajectory or the life of this transaction. Am I correct?
Exactly. And the longer that life, the term, the more interest you're going to get. If someone says, well, I can only afford $199 a month, not $299, great. We just add a couple more years to it. And, you got to be careful. Like, you don't want to be a predatory lender. Like, you want to, make sure that you're providing that dream but most people aren't walking around with 15 grand. And that's why you see land sit on the market for almost a year, is because you got to provide the ability for someone to make easy payments. It's kind of like, look at how expensive cars are and trucks, but they offer financing. Americans think, how much is going to cost me each month?
So let me ask you, though, this is a follow-up question, very important question here. If I'm doing this whole note model, what can I do with that land? Am I renting it for like a festival? Like, I can't build on it because I haven't fully paid you yet. Like, or maybe I can, but then if I do, you can take back the land and the house. Like, help us understand, like, what kind of notes are, and who is buying it and for what reason? Just help us understand that.
Yeah. What can you do with it? So basically, you have a goal to one day maybe, build a cabin on it, or right now you're going to use it to camp and RV and build a fire and quad and four wheel on it and dirt bike and all these little things. So I allow my buyers to improve it however they like, as long as they're not putting a structure for them to live in, because now we're dealing with Dodd-Frank. Like, I don't want them laying their head there at night, and I won't approve that. So when they
I feel like that was a problem in Dodd-Frank. I've referred to the act, right? But what is that? What is that when you say that, just so we understand?
So basically, here's my layman's terms explanation. With Dodd-Frank, they want to make sure that we're not out there giving like loans on all these houses and doing it the wrong way. Predatory lending, basically. Now, land, you don't have that because it's vacant raw land. You can't live there. you're not dealing with all these extra regulations.
Sure.
So that's why I don't let them build a house on or build something they can live in. And we don't have that issue. Like, we're not having a ton of people try and do that, but if they ask, we say no. And now sometimes I'll have the bank call us and say, hey, what's owed on the land? What's the payoff? Because now they're getting a construction loan to build that house on that piece of land. I get paid off, and they now get the construction loan because they're going to take out any junior liens. Right. So they don't want me saying, hey, no, I want the land back. And now they've got a loan on the house that was just built. The second way to sell that land is just sell it quickly. You can do it via, flipping it or buying it and flipping it with a realtor, or you can get it under contract and assign your contract, for maybe $9,000. The land's worth 15, and I'm just using really round numbers.
Yeah.
But like, I have a buddy that he gets parcels of land in Texas almost every day under contract for 35 and turns around and sells it for 65 or 70. And he just does this every single week.
We're talking about 3,500 to 6,500?
No, 35,000 to 65,000. And
what he does, level set.
Yeah.
That's no small gap.
He looks for houses that are going up $500,000 homes, and he starts mailing all around those areas because he knows. Go ahead. No, I'm just brain is racing.
So that is fascinating, and I'm sorry to cut you off, Brent. It's just
you're good. I talked
paradigm shift. No, just paradigm shift. So on the note side, just so we're clear, you're doing it in a way, from what we're finding out here in the lab today, is that there's multiple reasons why someone would want a piece of land where they can't build a structure on top of it, correct?
Yeah, there's so many. I mean, there's more reasons than I can count on two hands.
That's crazy. You said like dirt biking could be I mean, that's really interesting because you never think of that. You're just like, who would buy this, right? So that's one side of it. Then on the other side of it, you can actually wholesale it, where you find it pennies on the dollar. You said this in the beginning. I guess you own the deed, and then is that what you're doing? And then you're selling it essentially.
Yeah, there's two ways you can quick flip it, like where you buy it either through a title company. You get on the deed, and then you list it with a realtor and put it on Craigslist, all these places, and just quick flip it. Or I can get it under contract, and say it's a buildable lot in a hot area, and it's, I got it under contract at 60,000. It's worth 100, and you're a builder, Ruben, and you're looking for another piece of land to build on because you're finishing up 2 spec homes down the street. And I say, hey, Ruben, the land, what the land's worth. What are you paying for lots in that area? Oh, I can pay up to 90,000. Well, I got it under contract for 60, 70, 80, 90. I just made a quick $30,000 payday. I'm going to sign my contract over to you, Ruben, and you're happy because you got a 10% discount or whatever, maybe you got me down to 80,000 because you wanted a little bit of a discount.
All right. So let's talk about that for a second, because we talk about the Dream 100 offline, right? And if we were to apply that concept, basically we talked about, finding who are the go-to people who already have, the control of your avatar, who you're trying to target. So if I'm listening to this and I want to wholesale land and I want to bring it to a developer, and that's my niche, and I want to go to go straight to the source of the person who's in need of this demand. What are some key sourcing criteria that I need to know?
Yeah.
So that when I bring this deal, that it's, they're not going to look at it and be like, you're wasting my time.
Well, start with the end in mind. We call it in the military backwards planning, or some people call it reverse engineering. So I would start by going to the developer in your area. And how do we find that? We got something called Google. You just Google, like, say, for instance, Colorado Springs builders, Colorado Springs developer. Call everyone on that list and say, hey, I buy and sell land. My name is Brent. I buy and sell land. I notice you're building in the area. Are you looking for any more land to build on? Oh, no? Okay. Call the next one. Hey, it's Brent. I buy and sell land. I notice you're building in the area. Are you looking for any more land to build on? Yes. Okay, great. What are you looking for? Oh, you like this zip code, this street? What do you usually pay for those lots? Because I love that area, or I'm thinking about getting in that area. What do you usually pay for those lots? How big do you like the lots? is there anything else I need to know? Because I'm always looking for more land. So I'd like to let you know next time I have a great deal on my hands. Is that okay? Is this the best number to reach you at? What's your email? So you're building your buyers list at the same time, figuring out what they're really in demand for. And you just do that every single person on that list in Google. And then I'm going to give one more source. Everyone's probably familiar with PropStream. Go to PropStream, use the filter, and you want to see cash buyers on vacant residential raw land. Cash buyers, Colorado Springs, wherever you're at, put in your spot up in the top search bar, and then filter cash buyers, residential vacant raw land. And those are the people buying this stuff. And get them to skip trace it, get the email and the phone number, and reach out to 25 of those guys every single day. And you don't have to talk to 25, just dial 25 and make a check when you talk to them, and a minus when you don't. And that way, when you run out of them, you got to go right back up and talk to all the minuses. And that's it. I'm not talking about crazy like technology. That's what I did in the beginning.
Damn. That's so, I love the tactical. I mean, my man just gave you the whole script. Like, this is, I really appreciate that, Brent. And so you keep on saying the word buildable. So if I'm novice investor in land and I want to get into it, what does that mean for a land to be buildable? Like, what are some of the, requirements for me to know that, okay, this is buildable land, this is not buildable?
Yeah.
Like, how do I know?
Yeah. For instance, the fastest place to figure that out is call your planning and zoning. And ask them, it's like, hey, how big does a lot have to be buildable? What makes it not buildable? Hey, in Colorado, if it's not 1 acre, you can't put a septic tank on that property and you can't build on that property unless it's 1 acre. And if it's less than 1 acre, you better be close to a sewer line because you're going to extend it and put it in. And same thing with water lines. You got to figure that out. What are your setbacks? For example, Colorado Springs, we need a 5,000 square foot lot. I bought some that were 4,000 square foot, and I'm like, crap, it's not buildable. But luckily, I got it for so darn cheap, it didn't matter. And I sold it by putting a sign out front. And I was in the military. I moved a lot. It wasn't really a sign. It was actually a cardboard box that I put on like the surveyor stake. And I'm pretty sure that one particular lot I'm talking about, there was a survey stake already in it. So I had like used that survey stake, but I sold it to a neighbor and I let him make payments to me. He bought it. Funny story, $5,000. And I think I paid like $300 for it.
And again, same thing, that neighbor, that's interesting. So people are still willing to buy land that's not buildable because they might. Do you remember what they used it for, that neighbor?
Yeah, he told me he was going to put a shed on it. And then I had another neighbor buy some land so he could put a playground on it for the children in his neighborhood. This guy didn't even have children, just a good soul.
And so, so I guess obviously a shed and a play, that's not structure. So it's this is crazy, man. I love this.
Did they ever do it? I don't know. They didn't. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like I don't look at most of the land we buy anymore. And that neighborhood, it's funny. We sold about a year later before he even paid off his note. We sold, moved out of the neighborhood. So I don't know if he ever did, if either of those neighbors did that with any of that land I got.
So what does it look like today? Because I think, this is, you talk about reverse engineering. I think we're getting to that point right now where we were able to kind of reverse engineer what it took to get here. What does this operation look like today? Right? Because you talked about making those calls. Again, consistent. I love what you said, by the way. You said, the cows don't give the milk. Don't, what is it? The cows don't milk themselves.
Give you the milk. Cows don't give you the milk.
Cows don't give you the milk.
You've got to milk them.
Yeah. Yep. So you rolled up. We got there. So you're rolling up your sleeves. You're doing that. What does it look like for someone who's listening? Be like, okay, so how can I scale this thing? Right. We did talk about bringing other money in when needed, required. What is the operation, the day-to-day, lifting the hood of the business look like operations wise?
So do you want to talk about scaling, or do you want to talk about like, how do I like, which do you want to talk to, the person looking at scaling or the person that's like, look, I want to figure out a way to start making that extra $400 a month, or both?
That's a great question. I appreciate you asking the clarification. Let's start with the latter. So the person who's looking to how do I actually get this operation off the ground? Because then from a scaling perspective, I think we'll have the foundation to hear how you scale. So let's start with there. How do I begin this operation?
All right, let's give the lab listeners some a way to start right now. Yeah. First, pick your playground. Mine was my own backyard, and that backyard could be a 2-hour radius. So pick that spot. We already talked about PropStream. Go on and pull a list of vacant landowners, residential vacant landowners. And people are like, well, what size? Well, go on Zillow and see what's buying and selling in that area. Whatever the most of that size, mail that size only, because that tells me there's volume, that shows me there's demand and there's some supply. And I want you to pull a list of that size. Let's just say it's half-acre lots or 5,000 square foot lots. Get a list in your county, or at least a 2-hour radius. You might be in a highly dense county, then go to the sister county. Like, you want it to be 2 hours because you can get to it on a weekend to go put signs out or whatever you need to do. Second, you need to mail that list as soon as you pull it. And that's when the rubber actually meets the road. You got to get your communication piece out to that landowner so they can call you and say, yes, I'd like to sell it, or yes, I'd take your offer price. And I just said the third aspect is talking to them on the phone and seeing what you can do. At the end of the day, all we're doing is getting something at a discount and selling it for a profit. Or maybe it's not even a discount. You get it, you buy it, and you sell it for a little bit more. And that's really the practical ways to do it. How to scale it? We pull the entire county list. I have 2 acquisition managers that answer the phone. We send what's called a LOL, because we laugh out loud every time we get one back, because we just got a piece of land under contract at less than 50 cents on the dollar. But we send a land offer letter to these sellers, these landowners. They sign it and send it back. They fax it back. They mail it back. We give them so many ways. And yes, I said fax. We still get faxes. People fax us these things back. And we look at it. We analyze it. We run our due diligence. We call them. We see, hey, is that the least you'll take? We buy it. We turn around and sell it via realtor, or we sell it on one of our systems. Or sometimes it's like a piece of land that's worth like 200 grand and we're getting it under contract for like 115, 100. And we assign it to a builder. We also assign contracts still. So how do you scale that? Like 2 acquisition managers, some people in the Philippines helping us post the land, all this stuff. Now I'm just really, my team only uses me to like bounce ideas off of, or like, hey, what do you think we can get for this land? Or are my numbers accurate? Like, I'm not in the day-to-day trenches anymore. Now, granted, I still like to go look at land and stuff, but that's how to scale it. And I don't have a super crazy big operation. It's big enough, and it allows us all to live comfortably. One of my acquisition managers just paid off her house. Like, she's 100% debt free. That's lean. I'm so proud of her.
Do you give like a little profit share or something like that, or incentive?
Yep. Everyone's paid commission. Like, it's, if you don't go out and kill, you don't eat. Type thing.
I like that. Ooh, so let me ask you, because you said something key, and I want to make sure that, like, again, sometimes you look at challenges and their opportunities in other mediums, right? Like, really, you talked about mailers and wholesaling, right? For someone who's listening, he's like, "Oh, mailers and wholesaling, I had to spend a fortune," or gives me the goosebumps just to think about it. How much of a difference in conversions are you finding with land? Like, like on Brent, like, people are still responding to mail?
No, mail doesn't work anymore. Please stop doing it. No, I'm just kidding.
He's kidding, no, literally.
I'm just joking.
Tell me though, like, that's very surprising, right? Yeah. Like, let's talk about that.
Right now, I mean, for a while there, for every 200 land offer letters, we would get 1 piece of land. Land in the last year and a half has been, and like, crazy demand. It's turned to like more of a seller's market for land lately. So we're probably sitting around 500 right now in the markets we're in. 500 land offer letters. So we have to spend, about $500 in mail to get 1 deal. Now, I still have a house business. Those 2 acquisition managers also buy houses. I think we're like 5,000 or 6,000 letters right now to get 1 house under contract. That doesn't even mean we're going to get the house.
Hold on. That's a huge difference.
Yeah.
Like you're up by like a whole 1,000%. I'm not even gonna do math on the air right now.
Don't ask
You're
me.
up by a lot.
Yeah. Don't ask me. I'm not that guy.
Wait,
I find
that's
smart people to help me with that.
And here you are giving us the game because you believe that the pie is big enough for all of us to have a piece. That's fascinating.
Absolutely. How do you think I got the 36 acres? Somebody brought it to me. It wasn't by my only efforts. It's in a market that I'm not even in, but it's just a beautiful opportunity.
So now you can apply this model pretty much anywhere, not just your backyard, or you are still operating there.
You got it. It's funny. We went from Colorado, and someone brought me 117 lots. Another land investor. Oh, by the way, my competition brought me 117 lots. That I'm buying 300. Do you want 117 of them? Here's the crappiest ones. You can have them. Because he didn't have enough money to buy all 300 of them. So he cut the best ones out for himself, gave me the worst. And I bought them for $391 each. And we sell them for, and this is not crazy markup, but we sell them for $3,300 each at 9 to 12% interest. And it's not going to get us rich, but we're going to make about a half. And I bought that with a partner, by the way. We're going to make about $500,000 gross on it.
That's bananas. This whole compound thing is crazy. Man, so look, you've given us so much value, and I knew we were going to go over time. There's too much good energy here in the vibe. But listen, this is a great segue, right? Where you're literally giving us the blueprint, and I know that again, after your years of service, you continue to serve. So first of all, shout out to you for that, and respect, commend you there. I really appreciate that. Thank you for your service, and you're coming back into your community, and you're doing the same for others. And now you have, a coaching mastermind support system community where you're helping others do the same. You want to give us a little bit of insight into your world about that?
Yeah, thanks for asking. I've mentioned Wholesaling Inc. I'm a Wholesaling Inc. coach. We teach people how to buy and sell land, how to create businesses like I did. I had the bondage of the military, my W-2 job. I needed out. I was working 12-hour days, and I was able to build a system to support me, to support my why was getting out of the military with no time and no money. So I really we set up a course with the help of many, many people. I didn't do any of this by myself. Like, I have a lot of successful people that rally around me, kind of like you, Ruben. I'm sure you didn't get as successful as you are by yourself. But we developed the course. It's all the modules. It's the action steps. It's not education. It's, hey, go out and grab it. Like everything I just mentioned, like that's an action step. You need to take that action. And then the result comes by that seller saying, yeah, sure, I'll sell you the land. What can you offer? And then that's where the education comes from. So we built a course around that to where it tells you exactly what to do, when to do it. And then we have the support behind it weekly, every single week, plus a support group that you can get. And it pumps me up too every single week when I hear the wins. I get texts almost every day, just people winning. And if I'm having a down day, you ask me what gets me out of the slump. When a student makes a $50,000 assignment fee, and I'm calling my team like, get to work, let's go.
Oh man, that's awesome. Hey, listen, well, with the amount of value that you gave in this episode, there's no doubt that they wouldn't get even 10x that amount in your internal community. So I definitely encourage everyone who's listening who wants to, again, get in alignment with an experiment as such, and then double down. The man said it. I said the cow expression, and I'm not going to try to say it again, but you can't get the milk without doing the work. That's all I got to say. So I really appreciate you, Brent. And by the way, shout out to, so we had, is Dan Habercost one of your students?
Yes, sir. That guy's just killing it. I think he did 70-something land deals in the last year.
Ooh, so you guys check out episode 152. That's when we have my man Dan Habercost, and that is probably one of the most fulfilling things when you are able to, as a coach, as a teacher, as a practitioner, see a student of yours really exceed. I mean, man, really succeed and excel is what I meant to say. that is like a true definition of your work. And so I wanted to bring that full circle and give you kudos in this in this episode, because I think that is very fulfilling, and I think you deserve yourself a pat on the back, man.
Thanks so much. Yeah, Dan's doing great. He's coming out with a course called I Build Freedom. He's teaching people, because he doesn't just buy the land, he builds on it too. So he just got it at a crazy discount, and now he's building on it and making another profit. We've done a bunch of little builds together. So he's actually coming out with a course who's going to teach people how to build houses and basically the whole entire system. And he asked me to help him out with it, and I'm really enjoying it. So yeah,
that's awesome. You're based out of Florida, right?
Yep.
Awesome. I gotta make an introduction. Gabe, I got you, brother. Your introduction is coming your way. Got another brother out there you got to connect with. Listen, if you guys want to connect with Brent, I know that the landshark.com, and then I see here you're on social, Brent Bowers, of course. But where else, if I missed anything, where else can we get, in touch with you and your journey and your brand? Where else can we tune in?
Yeah, thanks for mentioning the landsharks.com. Also, I'm on YouTube. If you search Brent Bowers on YouTube, just started that about 10 months ago. Please
hit the subscribe button. Yeah. Hit that subscribe button. Quit playing with the man. Listen to the knowledge you just gave in what was an hour, but felt like an entire masterclass. My gosh. I mean, go and hit the subscribe button. Is that Brent? What is the name of the channel? Just so we're very, very clear. There's no excuse.
We're so new. I don't even think it has a name. If you just search Brent Bowers, you'll definitely find me. I'm taking it over on YouTube.
Yeah, definitely, man. We'll definitely check you out there. That's Brent Bowers. Go and stop it right now, unless if you're driving, and go ahead and give him a subscribe. You guys know that's all love. And then just comment below, be like the Experiment Nation. All right, that'll be really cool for him.
Yeah, you need to hashtag
Experiment Nation. Oh man, well listen, Brent, I can't thank you enough for coming to the lab, rolling up your sleeves, telling us the game about land, investing, notes, flip it. I mean, you name it. You came in here, dropped a lot of value and a lot of like insight that I'm thinking about, and I know it's going to be a wealth of knowledge for Experiment Nation. So thank you for stepping to the lab, and just like that, Brent, we are out.